Greetings.
Hey, are we live?
We are
We're
live.
live.
Good job, Clint.
Thank you,
You
Clint.
are
Thank you,
looking
Clint.
live.
Well, welcome everybody. We have been struggling here through some Facebook issues tonight, but luckily, Clint, let's give a big hand over here to Clint. He has got us going. And so, without that, we're a little behind tonight, so I'm just going to get right into it. So, tonight, we tried it a different way this week to let you listen to the record first. That way, you can kind of play along as we're talking to see what you thought as well. And so, please feel free, okay, to write your comments into the comment section because we can monitor that. We can add you to our discussion with us too. So, that's really nice. And so, first off, I got to say with this album here, for me, I came across this record. I got the new iTunes app for business for DJing. I got rid of one because it wasn't working, and so I went to the iTunes one, and I can have like 3 or 4 phones or something like that with my subscription. So now I'll just start listening to the iTunes every morning, and so. And I'll just pick out albums now. I can listen to the whole albums. And so with Bill Withers, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, I don't think I've ever really listened to, I know some of the hits, obviously, but I've never really just sat down and listened to a record. So I put in Bill Withers that day, and I listened to it, and I was absolutely just blown away by this record because Bill Withers, this is his first album. What happened here with Bill Withers is he is a little bit of the background you can see right there. He was like a maintenance guy he was installing toilets and airplanes, etc. like that. He on the side of that, he was trying to make it big right in the industry while working at night, right, while trying to work during the day. And so literally a funny story with that I found along the way as well is that when he finally had Ain't No Sunshine had blown up, right, and made a lot of publicity, right, and made him famous, he literally still kept working because he didn't think, right, that was going to be proof that he would still make it, right? So he couldn't lose his job. And so and you kind of get that that's kind of the cool thing we kind of see with the cover, is that with that cover art, you see that blue color background, right, within this. And so as I started listening to the album, the first half, right, you got the hit, right, with Ain't No Sunshine, and obviously everybody knows that hit. And if you didn't know, that's actually in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that song is. And so Bill Withers then continues to go on in that song, and the songs, in my opinion, continue to get more emotional. Okay, so as you get into side B, you know, we take you right off the bat with I Hope She'll Be Happier. You know, this guy literally sounds like his soul is in a pit of hell, right, in a relationship of some point. And then we kind of jump it up with this Let It Be version, which is a lot more upbeat. Now, if you didn't know, on this record, 10 of the 12 songs are written by Bill Withers. And the Let It Be, obviously, is a McCartney and Lennon song. And then song number 3 is like one of my personal favorites after listening to it. It's called I'm Her Daddy. He literally starts telling the story about this little girl, right? So if you listened to, you know what he's talking about. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm her daddy. I'm like, what just happened here? And so here, he must have had an affair with this woman. And now after 6 years, he's literally found out, right, that this little girl is his. And so I just love his response to that in this lyrics. And then also then as we get into this as well, we hear the Better Off Dead, absolutely stunning ending, right, to that song. And so I also think with some other songs in there, Grandma's Hands is a very soulful rendition. You hear this like heartful, soulful presentation of his relationship with his grandmother growing up. And so all of these songs are literally written by him. I had to have a copy of this, and I thought when I get my version, we're going to do this one because I just really, really love the writing. I love the arrangements of the songs, the way some of the songs are presented, and I think that's probably a little thanks to Booker T, who is also helping him as a producer on this album. And so that's what I have to say about the album. And I'm going to go around, and I've been waiting because I keep trying to plug Brad on this, but I told the guys after last week, I said, let's save some of our talk for the show so that we don't waste what we said ahead of time. So when I tried to talk to the guys, it's like, we're not saying anything. So they've kind of been holding me to the fire on this idea I had. So everything we're now talking about is raw discussion. So Brad, I want to hear your opinion first. What do you think?
Well, I think it's, first of all, I think Bill Withers has a lot of natural talent. I think his voice comes through so well on this record. And to be honest with you, I don't know how much Booker T had to produce him more so than maybe work the musical arrangements and stuff, because I just felt like this guy's got natural talent. His voice is, natural, and it's that soul R&B thing. I'm going to go off on a rabbit hole right now because there's a lot of people nowadays that are singing and trying to sing and make it big. And if I dare mention The Voice and some of these people that are trying to break into the music industry, a good number of them want to sound like Aretha Franklin. Mm-hmm. And they want to emulate that soulful voice. And I think a lot of them fall short. I think it's horrible, actually. I call it noodling. They can't pull it off because it's not a natural thing. With Aretha and with Bill Withers, I think you have this natural sound and this soulful, the soul part of this music that was around in the late 60s, early 70s, that came to be soul music. Someone once said that soul was actually a communication vehicle. It communicated so many things. I don't know who said that, but not only just lyrics, but emotion and so many other things. I also like the Her Daddy song, or whatever that was called, the Daddy song, we'll call it.
I'm Her Daddy.
Yeah, I like that song. Probably my favorite on the LP. The one thing I'd like to say about the production, it's very good. I think I hear definitely the Stax sound, and I'm sure others will comment on that. So I will only say this, that it has, when there is a rhythm section, it sounds just like that Memphis soul kind of, if you're looking for a Motown sound, it isn't here. This is the Stax sound and the Memphis soul sound. The recording is pretty good, and his voice sounds very natural in the recording. The one thing I would say too is that the low end on this record has that tubey magic. It's just beautiful sound. So it's a well-made pressed record. So yeah, it was good, and I'm done.
Well, one thing that's interesting when you're talking Bill Withers is if you know his backstory, I think that helps you key in a little bit more to how genuine he sounds. Because here you have a guy in 1985 who he felt that the record labels were trying to tailor his song to what they thought fit what he called the blaxploiting type thing, and he'd have none of it. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm done. I'm going back to work, and he did. So, all right, there you go. So, with that in mind, you think, okay, the sound on this album is authentically his, because when they asked him to change away from it, he said, I don't need you people, and I'm out of here.
That's what I feel. If he was on the job and he was, doing stuff, I could hear him singing without any instrumentation. Mm-hmm. That's what we'd get from him. We'd get the same thing we've got on the record.
In fact, if you have no sense of time and you heard other music from the period, you might make the mistake of saying that this album is emulative, when actually I'm guessing others, especially once he told the record industry to pound sand, I'm guessing there were plenty of knockoffs of his sound. So, call him an original.
Well, and I think you guys have kind of touched on what I was thinking with some of this record, is that deep soul emotion, right, that you get of his lived experience, right, growing up. And I think you get that in the first song, Harlem, right? You see that in obviously he was very influenced by his grandmother, right? You hear that in the story of his grandmother. You see it in his the hardness of how he is dealing with his relationships, right, in numerous songs, right? So with that, what do you think, Josh?
Wow, just
We're playing popcorn here.
You're in it now.
okay. I guess I'm
He
in.
doesn't want to hear.
I'm passing. I'm gonna flip a coin and pass it to one of you guys next. All right. So, there's just a raw emotion when he sings, and I think that's what was discovered. How he got discovered, I'm not well versed on that, but what I think was there's just a raw emotion, and to put that raw emotion and just to put it onto record and release it is a little difficult. So that I think that's where that Booker T comes in, because he does get a lot of credit for production and arrangement and stuff. So putting the music to the soulful lyrics and the meaningful lyrics, I think was kind of instrumental to this. And then the production is outstanding. I mean, you've got some incredible musicians on here too. Donald Duck Dunn is a Stax session player and was Booker T in the MGs and played bass for Clapton and a whole bunch of people. Steven Stills plays guitar on here. I
was gonna say that too. So it's a good point.
Pretty much all hands on deck. So it was probably a great big deal to make sure that this record got out and it got done right. And it came out fantastic. It's an incredible sounding record for sure. Oh, there went your notes. Mike, what do you think?
Well, what do I think? You know, well, I'd agree with you, and the emotion. You know, it comes across very well on the album. I mean, the way it was recorded and arranged. And I'm not a big R&B guy, but my early perceptions of R&B is '90s stuff, and that stuff is really. You look back, overproduced, probably a lot of electronic stuff, auto tuning, probably towards the late '90s. This, even the musical arrangements are very. I don't want to say they're basic, but they're not overpowering. You know, they just fit everything to a T, and it's just not. It's not an overblown production, but it's perfect for what it is and for what the songs are, how his voice, how he sings them. The album itself, I guess it's mixed well. It sounds great. I mean, it's an unbelievable sounding album.
Yeah. So one of the things that gets me about this record, if you listen to it, the way that the record's presented, they literally, the emotion, in my opinion, kind of really starts out that way, but then it pushes some of that to the back end, to the second half, as you start getting on to the second side. And then the ending, I told the guys that kind of the ending, when I heard it for the first time, reminded me a lot of like the movie Sixth Sense. Like if anybody's watched the movie Sixth Sense, you get to the end and you're like,
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Right? Did that really happen?
I didn't like the ending. I'll be honest with you, but that's just me personally.
Any of you that did sample it, tell us what you thought of the
I
ending.
think it was kind of
It's a bold technique.
It might have been just to be a bold statement at the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it probably was, but I don't know if I.
Did that make you go back and say, wait a minute, did this album build toward that? Or not?
Ooh.
Could've
And that's
been.
good because I think about when he's talking about his, right? Like she's better off without me in some of the lyrics, right? She's better off with him, you know? And so he's literally like giving you a lot of this emotion through this whole album, right? And then at the end it kind of like takes you away.
Is it a concept album?
He said it was like going to be more of a concept album than Dark Side of the Moon is what he promised.
I don't even know Dark
That's
Side of
true.
the Moon. I would have never said that. Lance, what do you think?
I probably don't have a whole lot to add. I agree with Brad. The first thing that really came to my mind was soul. You just feel the soul, and kind of like what Mike was saying, there's not a whole lot that really needs to happen with the instrumentation. They really let his vocals do a lot of the heavy lifting and the magic on this album. This is the first just straight up Bill Withers album I've ever listened to. Like I said, I knew the hits kind of like everyone else coming into this. One of the songs that I'd say jumped out to me was the first track. I think it was called Harlem.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd never heard that song. It was good. I could see myself maybe getting more into Bill Withers. I don't know if I'll jump out and try and collect everything, but I definitely enjoyed listening to this album. It was just nice and mellow. I could see myself just sitting back, relaxing, and listening to more of him, assuming the rest of his music has that same style and feel to it.
Did you get a melancholy feel from it? I mean, we're talking blues, but
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I felt that. I think there was only one track where they overdub his voice. I only heard that once, and that's why I make a point to this that he didn't need that. His voice just stands alone. It can work just by itself. There was no other, smoke and mirrors in that recording. The other thing I need to explain, Tubi Magic, I call it Tubi Magic, is an analog sound where you hear all this deep bass and I don't know, just natural sound
warm.
coming from
It's
this
a
record.
warm
Warm,
sound.
yeah.
is it kind of a resonant sound?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
And this kind of fits into a neat part of like musical history, because like we've talked about before in the show, I've talked about that 60s and that blues revival and how that was big in England, and that had kind of come over to the States, and then by about 1969 that kind of starts to fall out of favor, and then by 71, 72 you start to see the soul kind of pick up the baton, that kind of that blues, that the white folks bringing in black music kind of just ramped up with, now we've got soul. So the early 70s, there's a lot of soul music that comes out, and it's almost like they're taking their music back. Now they're producing it. Now people have started to recognize more so in the 70s the value of black artists. So I think that, to me, that's kind of what I hear when I hear this, is that we're taking our music back to release it instead of having the Eric Claptons of the world or those people release.
When
some
was
of the
this
stuff.
released?
71.
71.
Okay, that makes sense. The Gimbal's price tag on here says, anybody remember the price?
$4.98.
$4.89, but I'll give it.
That's only because I saw that.
Came from
Yep.
Gimbals.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about the pricing on that. I was looking at the prices for that album because when I
Here
heard it
comes
on the
the pricing.
iTunes, I decided I wanted to have that album, and
have it.
it was to buy a 180 gram version. It was $40 to $50. So I said, well, why not? What would the original cost at that? And so at that, then I saw there was a version of 60, and then this one had the original shrink for 70. So I ended up buying that
Yeah.
version.
That was. You're probably sweating a little bit when you hit the pay now button.
So, where does this album fit in his catalog? Is this
First.
It is his
First album.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, what's happened is, right. So kind of like a lot of people, right, that try to make it in life. I think about even some of my story, right. Like you have to, do a lot of things, right, to get the money, to get the things that you need to do to kind of put things together. There's a lot of work, and right, it gets tiring. But you have like this motivation that keeps pushing you. So he's doing his job every day, and then he's going out and he's writing songs. He's playing in the clubs, right. He's trying to be found. Right, and then I think he gets a song that makes it in '67, but doesn't really get any traction. And then, then it comes back by again about '71. There's like, let's put you with Booker T, and then everything just comes together now at the right time. And now what's interesting too. What I, in my opinion, I want to see what you all think, because if we're to say, take on Mike's discussion from last week. Or last month, one of the last months that we did the episodes, Mike was talking about how he hates compilation albums. Okay, and so downstairs, and this will give us a little plug, and we'll get to these each in our own time how this works here. But this will kind of be the plug to get this going. We each have records downstairs on the wall in which we are putting some of our favorite albums down. And so my favorite album I put, the reason I knew I was going to do Bill Withers. And so I put this one on there to be a precursor, to try to give a hint to anybody. But I don't think anybody caught it when I was talking to the guys on the group. I told them, I gave them my genre, and they were way off. They couldn't get close.
I wasn't way off.
You weren't way
I had
off.
Stevie Wonder, Earth,
I
Wind,
said-
and Fire.
guessed
He
it
was
when we
close.
I said
You did?
I said Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke?
Yeah.
Nah, Bill Withers. Anyway, So, but you're right. Yeah, I mean, you were close. I'm sorry. And so anyway, I picked this one, Best of Bill Withers, like I said, to kind of give a little tip to what I was going to play this month.
Marvin Gaye was one of my guesses.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was
That's a
good.
good-
Okay, that was good.
yeah.
You're right.
Is that
Okay,
the
I'm sorry.
Is that the 75 or the 80 release?
This is the 75 one. And what I want, so what I thought to do here real quick is, because each of us kind of, as we were talking, I thought this could be kind of neat to kind of show something Mike was talking about. How do you make a compilation album, right? Because who gets to pick the songs? And so obviously there's a couple on here, like you would say if you're going to have a compilation album of Bill Withers, you have to have Lean On Me, right? And you have to have Ain't No Sunshine. Those two are going to be the givens, right? So what's interesting is you said something during the show. You let me see the greatest hits album because you wanted to see what songs had made.
Well, I
this.
thought her daddy or
Yeah.
whatever that is probably should have been on that album.
Yes.
because it's
And I thought the same thing.
Compilation albums are record labels putting things together to sell to make
most
more
of the
money.
time.
So it's record labels are most of the time are picking the songs to put on those.
I just thought that would be a cool
Yeah.
top,
No, it is cool.
top
It's either-
Well, and
talking point.
They don't really
Record
want to
label.
give away the story either on these greatest hits albums. There's so many of them out there that they're just missing a thing or two, and it's just
they're either record label, cash grab, or
Filler,
stopgap album.
Yep.
Filler.
So
To
there's
fill
To
contracts.
fill contracts or to
yeah.
like the Eagles' greatest hits album, the biggest selling album of all time. Well, it teeters between a few of them, but
It's one of the top 5. Yep.
that was a stopgap album because they took so long between one of these nights in Hotel California. The label threw it out there because they needed
Something.
The product.
time.
they needed product for the Eagles to keep the public interest.
But the other thing that they do, compilation records do, though, is if you buy it and you are like, oh, hey, I'm really into this, it will make you go back and look through the rest of the discography.
But the sad thing about this, and this is I think one of the points maybe Mike you might get to. I don't think that you mentioned it this way though. That I was thinking okay, why would there might be some disdain in a compilation album, and the reality is to me that with that album that we just listened to, if I'm listening to Grandma's Hands, or for example, it doesn't resonate as much with me because it doesn't come in the aspect of the stories and how he's presenting his life
Right.
in this album, right?
Well, that's part of the album. If you listen to an album, take this album we just listened to, whether it intentionally is narrative or not, that's probably up to interpretation.
Sure.
A lot of albums could be narrative, or you just think they are. But an album, if it's recorded at the same, within a certain period of time, it's got a sound, it's got a feel. When you got a greatest hits album, you're cherry picking these songs. And this song was recorded in another studio, produced by a different producer, different musicians. And sonically it sounds different. So that kind of distracts from me if I'm listening to a song. If I'm listening to an album, the album should sonically sound the same throughout. When you get the greatest hits album and you've got this song was on this album, this one was off this album, it was produced by this guy and this guy, it just doesn't sound the same to
It's
me.
bouncing.
Right.
Yeah, but you know what you're getting when you're getting a greatest hits.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're getting.
For those of us who do a lot of CDs and don't own a turntable, there are the greatest hits ones called the Essential so and so. And I have to say that some of those are really, really all inclusive. But some of these greatest hits that come out, there's a Charlie Pride downstairs. I think actually at the front counter right now. Where I was looking through the track list on this, I was like, "What in the world?" I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking, but
Well, they put someone like Charlie Pride's probably got 40 greatest hits albums.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
true.
pretty much.
But
Is that
there's-
like the perennial going out of business sale at a
Yeah.
furniture store?
Right.
Or is that,
But there's
Exactly.
there's artists. Every one hit wonder's got a greatest hits album too, and you wonder how could they make a
Oh.
greatest hits album out of Tony.
What was that one?
Basil,
We were
you
talking
know?
about one a little while back.
there was one, but I was at one of the pawn shops, and I picked up because sometimes you just want a bag of Cheetos, right? I bought Ace of Base greatest hit, or I bought an Ace of Base CD for like a quarter or whatever, And actually, there were two of them sandwiched in there, and one of them was like this platinum and gold collection or whatever. I'm thinking, it's Ace of Base. So, you know, I looked at the track listing, and it's literally
The first album.
It's literally
No.
the first album with a couple of remixes.
Did you see the sign?
It opened up
Saw
my
the
eyes.
You definitely saw the sign.
Yeah, but I just had to laugh. It's like some of these artists are. It's a little presumptuous to say that they've got or need a greatest hits. But again, it's a cash grab. You know, that's all it is.
But I like that too. The way you said it too, though. It can also be like a gap filler,
It is.
right?
Yep.
They're contract fillers a lot of times, or to stop gaps to give by artists more time to release new music, or as a machine to sneak new music out. Some, like you said before, they'll throw a new song on there, or a new recording, just to get people to buy it.
Yeah.
The thing that greatest hits albums for bands that I really like though are usually they're just the popular releases. They're the ones that everybody knows. And you start digging into discographies, there's usually those artists have much better songs
Sure.
down the chain. So
Interesting. Well, let me use that then as an intro to give you all some of the other records downstairs. So if you come in, please feel free to check the wall. We have a lot of these records that we are picking every month just to pick out some of the records that we like. And so as I said, I picked Bill Withers to put on there, kind of like to give you a prelude of what I was going to pick for the month. Lance, what did you put on there?
Oh, I picked a Kinks album.
And why?
I like the Kinks. I think they're definitely an underrated band that was part of that whole British invasion. You know, everyone wants to talk about the Beatles and the Stones. Beatles are obviously one of my favorite bands, so I can't talk. But I just feel like the Kinks are underrated. I'll be honest, I've never listened to the album per se before, but I love the album artwork on it. Cover's great. So yeah, that's why I went with the Kinks.
When was that one released?
Oh gosh. Maybe about 69 or 70. That's my guess.
Yeah, 71.
Okay.
Pretty close, Brad.
A contemporary of our featured album tonight.
Brad.
Oh, mine next. Okay. Well, this is Golden Earring Switch. And I don't expect a lot of people to know this record. But what's really interesting is their big hit, Radar Love, that was massive airplay on AM radio. And so I bought this album, and I was 15. In the summer of 75, this was my album. This, and I can't remember, there was another one I was listening to at the time, but this album meant so much to me. So it's more of a self-indulgent, selfish reason why I picked this record. It still means a lot to me. I like to listen to it. But it didn't yield any great hits like Radar Love. They made singles from it. I think there were a couple, and they didn't make it anywhere. Golden Earring is a Dutch band. They were started in the 60s, and it took a while after Radar Love for them to get another big hit. Of course, The Twilight Zone, and the advent of MTV was massive there. So that song became a big hit. But anyway, this one kind of went to the wayside, and in the cutout bins in 1975, Switch, Golden Earring.
and
Michael.
good Dutch band
Good Dutch band.
that Mike Tramp of White Line did a cover of.
He did
Radar
do.
Love.
That
Yeah,
was
they
a-
did
Which
do
one
a
of my
decent-
That was a
my
really
favorite
good
one of my
cover.
favorite cover songs
Yeah.
of all time is White
Ever.
Line's cover of
White
Radar
Line?
Love.
Yep.
I got a White Lions greatest hits. Would
I
you
do too.
believe that?
Yeah. Me too.
I do have some greatest hits. All right, I picked Cars, Heartbeat City.
Yes.
I didn't pick this for any. It's the Cars, so you can't go wrong.
Are you just going to let the good times roll?
This is not. This has got.
Didn't want to shake it up.
This has got Magic. You might think.
Oh, that I missed that. Would have been
Drive
the best one
is
to use.
actually the song
think
I
that was
love
good
on
album.
this. That's Benjamin Orr vocal on this one, on that song. I don't think he gets enough credit in the American rock landscape, or at least vocalist landscape. People always think of Rick Ocasek when they're thinking about the Cars. Some people probably don't even realize, because they do sound very similar on some of the songs. so they might actually just think it's the same guy singing. This album, produced by Mutt Lange, who at that point in time,
Mutt Lange!
that point in time in the 80s was
Pre-Shania?
This was 84, 85?
Yeah, I mean, he was the go-to guy.
He would marry Shania.
Def Leppard, AC/DC. So, and then it kind of goes to the Cars, goes to what Clint was saying with the Ace of Base and the Greatest Hits album. You know, it was basically just their entire first album. The Cars' first album will probably go down in history as one of the best debut albums. That entire album was, I think, everything except for 2 songs is still in heavy rotation on classic rock radio today. So,
well, we were talking about this in the stacks earlier today, is that you can't really jam the Cars into any one genre.
Yeah.
They're really all over the place, and they're solid, and they were really new at the time. You know, this album is probably single-handedly responsible for uniting Rick Ocasek with his supermodel girlfriend, Paulina Poroskova, and wife. Rick, why the long face? That was a Dennis Miller SNL joke. Had Rick come up. Rick, why the long face? But
All right, and then my pick, Foo Fighters, Concrete and Gold from 2016. It's the 9th album from the Foo Fighters. It was after Dave Grohl's self-imposed hiatus from recording. They had just done Sonic Highways, which is an absolutely remarkable series. There was a TV series on it, a record about it. They went to all the different cities and wrote and recorded songs in each one of the cities that they went to. Really cool record. Exhausted the band. It was a great big deal. So then they released this one later. This one's kind of, it's not, Foo Fighters fans either love this or not. But the reason that this is my pick is because it's got songs like Run on it, Sky's Neighborhood, which is a great big, a huge Foo Fighters song, still played in concert every time we see them. The other thing though that this has got La Di Da on it. La Di Da is his throwback to that punk, his punk roots, kind of that heavy, it's kind of grungy, it's kind of a dirty sounding song. It's just real heavy and real kind of unique. It just kind of doesn't really fit in the record, and that's what kind of makes it really unique. So it's kind of cool.
is that the one that was recorded? They built the studio in his garage.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, available for sale
And
at Music More.
And let me tell you all too, I was gonna say that at the end, so thank you for plugging, Mike. All of these records, if you like any of them, they're in the store.
Thanks, Josh.
And let me tell you, starting this Thursday, if you all got your coupon book, there's some Music and More coupons. I just spent and dedicated a lot of money this year to getting the name of Music and More out, and I realized at some point I've got to start advertising some more, especially since I'm so far south and out of the way. And so with that, I've always had the commitment of extending the opening hours too. So when I started, it was just, let's get open, let's get some stuff selling, start to get some money back for everything that I put into this. And so it was Saturday, Sunday. Then about 3 months ago, I think I went into Friday. And starting this Thursday, it will be my first Thursday. We'll be open Thursday through Sunday now. And that was always the plan, to be 4 days. But it's also by appointment. If you are out of town watching this and you are coming through and you need it to be open, just email the store or call me, Kenny, or my entertainment company, and I will be able to meet up with you somehow down here. And so with that, what did you pick, Clint?
Well, this is my debut pick here.
Oh, yes.
And I had to go with REO Speedwagon. Not just any REO Speedwagon, this one. And in fact, I was upstairs here the other day and saw it propped against the wall and thought, oh man, that's one of my favorites. Actually, one of the first cassettes I bought as a kid with my very own money in 6th grade was High Infidelity. But this is one of those where, we're talking about the period in the mid-'80s where they've done, One Lonely Night and Can't Fight This Feeling and all those prom song type things.
Prom songs, I like that.
But we got I Don't Want to Know and Live Every Moment, which are just wonderful. There's a YouTube video out of a live performance of Live Every Moment, which is just awesome, and it talks. It really goes to the showmanship. They put on a great show. Their lineup has changed, I think, by that point a little bit, but that they really love their fans, and the fans love them. And the more, it's kind of funny because I had a period where I didn't really listen to a lot of REO, even though it had an influence on me, like 6th grade on through junior high and high school. But looking back now, it's like, man, I like that band more and more every single day. Now that they've ceased touring for good,
Right.
So what do you do?
Right? And with that, hey, a couple other big things I'll say for this day. March 30th is a huge day for many reasons. Number one, our artist of the week this year, this is actually the day that he died. And that was completely by chance that I think one of the guys actually might have mentioned it. I've heard it, but then just didn't really process it. And then we said, oh, yes, you're right. So Bill Withers died. But also, let me give a plug here for Max came in today with Jade. And they brought me a gift. And so I haven't even told these guys to see their raw surprise in the moment. So Max and Jade, thanks. They knew that March 30th is the first day that Music and More was open last year. It is our 1 year anniversary today. So you ready? I got a birthday card.
That's very cool.
Isn't that pretty neat? So, this is our first birthday card. We're going to put this up on the wall. We'll find a way to memorize it, make this a nice memento. And so, thank you to those two. 1 year today. And so, it has been going well. What else do we have over here, Josh?
Well, we have to do our drawing. So we just went through all the records we pick. We pick one record a month. When you come into the store, walk over to the wall right next to the record player. You'll see our picks for the month. There will be little blue tags. There will be a little jar. Go ahead and write your name down and your phone number. Write down your pick, which one you like the best. Throw it in, and then every month when we have our show, we pick a winner. So, and how much are they going to get this time?
$10. $10 gift certificate.
I was going to say 50. Good thing I checked.
And I'm told that if you're on the podcast, you can't
you
win.
can.
So,
We have to put wives or significant others.
but can you vote? See?
You can vote. Mike, pick the winner. Who do you got?
David Schmidt.
And
He picked the Kinks.
Oh, good pick there. So, Dave, feel free to come in when you come on in. Let me know. Remind us we got $10, right, here at the store. But also, for all of you, come down to the store right now, Thursday through Sunday. Look at the records, because there's a lot of people that come in here every month, but there's only 6 names right now. What, 5 names, 6 names? And so a lot of people are forgetting to fill that out. So fill it out, drop it, and then feel free to tell us which one was your favorite up there, because we are starting to find new ways to integrate some of the music and other ways into the store and in the program. So hopefully this will work good.
And the winner, the actual record that did have the most votes was Bill Withers. So
Really?
yes,
PTL. Thanks. Thank you everybody for making me this week's champ.
PTL.
That could mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. but anyhow, that'll make that clear. But technically, Josh could have won really after day one. Because tell us why, Josh. What happened?
Oh yeah, my record sold almost immediately, like the next day.
And what was it?
Tesla's Mechanical Resonance.
So someone came in, they saw that, and actually, I think it was one of my new customers.
It was your customer from Jamestown that came
yes.
in and bought all the 80s stuff.
Yes, and so she is watching. I think she added us too, so
Good.
hopefully she's watching. And right, you're going to learn a lot by watching this, because we got a lot of experience up here. So, and with that, there are some comments. Let's see what you all can add to this.
What did you get through your post-it notes?
Yeah. Did we hit all the topics though?
Did we hit
No,
all-
actually, no, you didn't.
Were
But
you trying to keep us in check, or?
no, there's little points I wanted to.
We were getting deductions.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I wanted to make sure to mention that Steven Stills was a guitarist, but you mentioned it. So I just make little notes that I want to make sure that I wanted to say. because I get
Did you know Steve
Full in my head.
Stills was the Stills and Crosby, Stills, Nash?
yeah. There's a lot of them down there. So,
He dated Joni Mitchell.
That's, well,
but let me go to the comments
somebody
here.
had to do it.
I see that Christy said, guys, that 1984 was a good year for music.
Yes.
Can you think of anything else from 1984?
Yeah, Van Halen's
Van
1984.
Halen,
Right?
Jump.
Now, I don't know, Christy, if you were thinking of anything else specific, but I thought I would mention that. That was a pretty good one. Otherwise, I don't think I see any other questions.
You know, as the resident movie guy, I'll say if you want to look at what was playing in theaters between 1984 in particular through 1987, holy cow. And we're talking not just good movies, but movies which changed the action genre, the sci-fi genre, things like that. So I have to get a plug in for my movies. So
7200 Degrees Fahrenheit by Bon Jovi and set 84 too.
Is that 84?
Or was that 85?
I'm not a big Bon Jovi guy.
Oh, come on.
Sorry.
That's Hard Rock Mike.
That was hard rock in the 80s.
I don't know. That's stretching it.
Tell us how you really feel, Mike. I always like when you get honest.
what was hard rock in '84?
I don't know. Didn't Stay Hungry come
Stay
out
Hungry
in
came out in
84?
84.
Twisted Sisters, one big shot at stardom. But they kind of burned out.
I don't know. I just couldn't go out and play.
Bad.
Yeah.
What other comments?
What
Next
other
comments.
Is there any other
Kenny
comments?
killed that one.
Come on.
I see Dave is watching,
Come on.
so
Wasn't-
congrats, Dave.
Wasn't
on.
Thriller '84?
I think Thriller was 82.
No, it was later than that.
Look it up. Google it real quick, because I'm always surprised by how early that one came out.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw a Tonight Show clip where Vincent Price.
Please don't let me be wrong, Lord.
Vincent Price narrated the part from Thriller
Okay.
by heart. In fact, it was hosted by Joan Rivers. She was guest hosting that night with Vincent
Was it really?
Price. And they had the band kick up and play the end of Thriller, and he did it from memory.
He did it from memory.
Oh, you were right, Kenny. 82.
He also did narration on Alice Cooper's Black
There's so many
Widow
eyes watching me. I hate to be wrong.
from Welcome to My Nightmare album.
That's right.
Which one?
Yep.
Welcome to My Nightmare. He did narration on Black Widow.
Oh.
He did a lot of stuff.
And I have to say Josh, too, because of that.
Ride
When
the
I think
Lightning,
Thriller, I oftentimes
yeah.
think 84, 85. But when I looked at it one time, I remember going, 82?
Right.
I would have never guessed. That's why it stuck with me.
Maybe the music video for Thriller came out in
Yes.
'82. That was a John Landis production.
That actually is a really good comment.
What one?
Asking about music that came out in 84. Not wrong by any stretch of the imagination. We got Metallica's Ride the Lightning. There's Private Dancer by Tina Turner. Born in the USA by Bruce
That's what I was
Springsteen.
just popped in
Oh,
my
wow.
head. Born in
Oh,
the-
Purple
yeah.
Rain.
Oh, Purple Rain. That's a great
Like a
one.
Virgin by
That was
Madonna.
my first album I ever got.
Big Bang
Which
Boom
one?
is
Like a Virgin?
Big Bang Boom by Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Oh, that's a
Footloose.
good one.
You know, Purple Rain, that album was what started the whole PMRC movement.
Last in Line by Dio was 84.
Wow.
Defenders of the Faith.
You know, you mentioned Private Dancer, didn't we?
Sorry.
Didn't we talk about that? How Spider actually did that, and no, she did "Better Be Good to Me." I'm sorry. And then I listened to an episode of.
Oh, here goes. Becky
Power Slam.
has said Jump, right? Top song, Van Halen. We got Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Cyndi Lauper. So there's a lot of popular pop songs, rock songs. What do you call it?
Reckless by Bryan Adams.
Reckless?
Sparkle in the Rain by Simple Minds. There's a lot of stuff came out in 84. Slide It In by Whitesnake. There you go.
Right to the top.
Right to the top.
So I'm 11. What grade am I at 11?
Heartbeat
Fifth.
City by the
Fifth,
Cars.
sixth.
Wheels Are Turning.
Well, that was-
Billy Ocean Suddenly, which is a great record.
Did Pyromania came out in '83?
83. Yep. Okay, what other comments do we got?
Yeah, I think that's all for the comments. Does anybody else have any final comments on that? I will make sure to make a note of it. Do you see anything that I missed over there, Clint, or no?
I was just wondering what's hot right now. You mentioned how that record went out the door real quick. Is that kind of the thing going for the rock, the '80s
Well,
rock?
the
like that?
'80s rock if you get the right stuff, it's always gonna, it sells pretty quickly.
Yep, girls just want to have fun.
Now everybody else has a chance because Mike's got all of his stuff and I've got most of it now. So anything that comes in with,
Unless there's a copy of Shout Out the Devil comes in.
yeah, the Spanish one though.
The
We need the
Spanish
Spanish
one.
Yeah, the
Argentinian version.
So if I look at records that are selling really popular, I will tell you this right now in the store. I am completely out now. I had 6 copies of Rumors by Fleetwood Mac 3 weeks ago.
Who's
They're all
buying
gone now.
Rumors still?
Everybody.
I have sold my
God.
last Rumors. Rumor has it that that's a popular album.
I sent somebody
I
down
don't-
here for that.
here's
I
the
don't know if he
thing,
made
it's
it on
something
time.
like that. I don't know if it's. I think it's just people think they have to have it.
That album is
I-
amazing.
I
It's a
think
great
they're
album,
Like,
like,
it's so good.
I need to keep.
It is
They're
so
like
good.
they're thinking I need to curate my collection. What's the must-have? Rumors is a must-have. I don't know if people are really loving that album that
There's
much.
like 2
You have
songs
it
that
too, though,
aren't
right?
a full-on
I can-
banger
I-
that
I
are
can-
on that.
Well,
Yeah.
Like every
I
other
can
song
sit
on
here
that
and-
album is
Just like the
Honestly,
vice versa
I
of
have
his
no
Cars album,
Fleetwood Mac.
right?
What?
No, absolutely not.
What's that? Let's comment.
He has no Fleetwood Mac. I asked him if he has it in his collection,
No.
and he doesn't.
Mike,
I know what
you
he's
haven't read the
don't-
list.
I
and
don't
you
think
have to have it.
I don't think I'd leave my house and show my face if I had that in my collection.
It's Hard Rock Mike, not Pop Mike.
That's
Right?
true. That's
You know,
gotta remember
and I'm
what-
not taking anything away from them. I get the impact of that album, and they're a talented band. But I think some of that stuff, like why people buy that, even to this, I think some of those just they start curating their collection, and that always seems to be like,
An important
oh,
album.
we need to have, every collection's got to have Rumors, or every collection's got to have
Eagles' greatest hits
Eagles'
would be another
greatest
one.
hits. Just because
Thriller,
Thriller.
right? Those, if you didn't know, these are like top
Top
10
100.
albums.
Yep. Top 100s of
For,
all
Right.
time.
for you vinyl guys. I mean,
Now, we're not saying they would be the top rated, right? That's a whole nother category, just selling.
Based on popularity.
Yeah. So if you look at, I think Thriller at the time, it sold 25 million copies at the time alone, which was the ultimate record at the time. But
Thanks, Eddie.
thanks to Eddie.
why, Eddie? You got to tell us.
Eddie Van Halen played the guitar solo in
Beat
Thriller and beat it. Yep.
Yeah. So with that, anyway, we got a lot of great records going. So Fleetwood Mac has been going. It's really hard to find hair band stuff. I mean, I can't get some of this stuff. I think you brought in a couple for me. I sold both those now to Tesla.
And it,
Um,
I wouldn't even say some of the hair band, but it's really the heavy metal, early heavy metal stuff.
what do you mean? Be more specific.
Any early Iron Maiden,
Oh, I can't find that.
Metallica,
Judas Priest.
not necessarily Judas
No.
Priest, but like an Iron
Dio.
Maiden.
I get a lot of people asking for that.
Mhm.
Dio.
The late 80s stuff is
Some of
impossible
some
to
of the
find.
stuff that's hard to find. Yeah.
Cinderella, Poison,
Yeah.
Now, are you
Skid
talking
Row.
in all formats, or are you talking vinyl?
just vinyl.
Vinyl.
Now, CDs, you can get a lot of that because, like, if you don't know, one of the things we've talked about a lot on the show is as the 80s are moving on, people are moving into CDs, and that's why it's hard to find those original records.
Right.
This,
Not as
this
many
week was
produced.
the 30th anniversary of Skid Row's third album,
Right.
Subhuman Race.
Yep.
Have you heard that one, Kenny?
Never.
Why not?
It had
It's
no
not
hits.
in my wheelhouse.
It had no hits.
It had no hits, but
It's a great record.
Did it have any tracks that made their
Well,
greatest hits?
when I was
I'm sure it
18
did.
and had Life to Go, there was a lot of other stuff to listen to.
I'm very disappointed that
None of that
nobody
monkey
got
business.
nobody commented on my post when I put that in there. In our
But,
chat
What was it? What did you say?
the other night.
Oh, we missed it. Okay.
missed it.
But that Subhuman, now we'll go through it. So that Subhuman Race came out in '95, and that falls in an area where the '80s bands, were passe at that time. But there was a few year period where those bands were still putting out albums. In hindsight, probably some of the best albums of their career were in the mid '90s.
Dog Eat Dog by Warrants is one for
Mm-hmm.
sure. No, I posted the picture. Ricky is 53 now and 35 years into his life sentence. That is
Oh.
definitely an 18
Oh.
in life to go.
Nice.
That was good. I missed it.
I'm very disappointed in you guys. Even my wife got it.
Oh, I got it, but Kenny was he was such on his Alice Cooper thing. I was like, God, what's going on?
Okay, so I was listening to Alice Cooper, and he was telling a lot of stuff, and so I just got on this deep dive this week, listening to an interview that he had with Greg Laurie, who's a Christian pastor, and so it was an hour long, and so he talks about a bunch of stuff, and so I was like, wow, I never really listened to Alice Cooper before, and so he just sounded a lot more interesting than what I've ever thought that
You
I
just
could
think
get
he
to.
was a dumb rock star, is what you thought.
Yes, I did. Okay,
You just thought he was a dumb rock star.
I didn't realize there's a lot of genius there. And like one of the things he talked about is how at the time, and this is something we don't talk about, right? And that when we look at music, right, everybody had a gap. And Alice Cooper literally, he says in his conversation, I realized this had this people had this had this. But he said, what can I do? And he said, well, nobody's using the back of the stage. Mm-hmm. And so that became his thing, right, to put on this whole kind of theater. And I thought, that is genius. I guess I never thought of it that way.
Literally told him this before.
I didn't listen till I heard him on Lori.
He only did it when he started getting to use the back of the stage, because before they hit it big and they were the opening band, they were just on the front of the stage.
Good point.
He received the key to the city from Alice, North Dakota, when he played in Fargo one year.
Remember that?
He was
It was
also
like
on the Muppet Show.
2001 or something. Was he on the same with Vincent Price?
I think so. School's Out was the song. I think School's Out was the song they played on
For how long?
Muppet
Summer?
Show.
Huh?
Just
For how long? Summer?
All summer, yeah.
So any other questions?
No, I
Any
think he
questions?
did.
With that, I think it's almost been an hour. We got a comment. Becky says, Kenny, hold a Rumors album for me next time one comes in. There you go, Mike. Another one. I got a pre-sale.
Well, it's the second one because we got to save the first one for Mike. He has to have it in his curated collection.
Yeah, and I have to see if my friend Ryan was able to come in and get one. He lost everything in a fire, and he's talking about he had a lot of history books, particularly North Dakota history, his camera collection, things like that, and his record collection. He's like, yeah, I want to go try and find Rumors. It's like, well, I know where to go. You got to go down to Music and More. So
Thank you very much.
perhaps he's one of the gentlemen who
I'm
helped
counting
clean
that.
you out.
You are not.
52 minutes.
You can't count that. You cannot count that. Mike, Brad, tell him what's going on here.
Well, Kenny purposely avoided saying anything about Elvis Presley until
52 minutes
Mike
into
called
the
him on it.
show.
I was just using his voice.
right.
I'm sorry.
And so he tried so hard to eliminate this episode of any kind of Elvis reference, but it's okay, Kenny.
Did you even hear it earlier? I said, and my entertainment company, nobody caught that? I didn't say Elvis Entertainment.
I was waiting.
I purposely skipped so I wouldn't say Elvis. So,
Yeah.
but now we got it at the end of the
Cat's
episode.
out of the bag now.
So anyway, any final comments?
Yeah, do you got Def Leppard Hysteria on vinyl?
I literally had a 20-minute conversation with a customer today, and no Hysteria yet. I know Josh wants one still too.
Oh, I got one.
You got one now?
I would take it on vinyl if you found it. You just finally found me a CD copy. I have not been able to find Def Leppard. And okay, as a movie guy, I am always hitting the thrift stores and the pawn shops and stuff. I have since the introduction of Netflix streaming. People started unloading movies. I started buying them. In fact, that's how I met Kenny, because we were trying to poach each other on it. But
I'm also a big movie guy.
But I have been looking for Def Leppard Hysteria on CD forever, and you finally found me one last week.
And what else did I do? Did your son tell you?
No.
I gave it to you.
Oh yeah, I know that.
I said you could give it to him. Tell him to take it.
The,
Well, I thought it was
the
services
vinyl
later.
version. The vinyl version.
That is true.
Version of Hysteria is kind of interesting on itself, because that was like, I don't know if it was at that time. That album's, I think, almost an hour long.
Yep.
Like 58 minutes.
Yep.
For them to master that and be able to get all that on a single disc and have it sound as good as it does, was kind of a technological marvel at that time.
Mutt Lange.
And that was kind of that point where all of a sudden you had these hard rock bands were starting to get just impeccable digital production. It almost sounded too clean, a lot of those. Now, Hysteria, my freshman year of college at NDSU, it's like when you got your student ID from the college, they just handed you a copy of Hysteria on CD. That and Joe Satriani Surfing with the Alien.
This
They
is
were everywhere.
years ago. I watched an interview about Phil Collins was talking about that. Not the Phil Collins from Genesis, but the
Phil Collins, the guitar
from
player.
Def Leppard, about Hysteria, and that album was basically made that every song could have been a single. Like they basically
On
had
purpose.
to kill that album because they could have just kept releasing singles and touring behind it for another 3 years.
So it is their greatest hits.
It pretty much
It
is.
pretty much is.
Now the purists will,
I think that show was here twice. I think that
It
it started.
might have been.
I know it was for sure once. I think it came through twice.
well, it's peak Def Leppard in my book, but
Well, and
biased
it
on that.
sounds, it's one of those albums that there's some albums that you hear so much that had so many hits, like a Back in Black or Appetite for Destruction. I'll probably never listen to Back in Black in its entirety ever again
Right.
because you've heard those hit songs on the radio so many times. But Hysteria, when you listen to it, it still plays good as an album in its entirety. You don't get. If I listen to Appetite for Destruction, I'm gonna skip half the songs because how many times can I hear Sweet Child of Mine or
Yep.
Paradise City?
Well, give us a little bit of just since you're on it real quick, just a little bitty real quick about the backstory of that album, where it's coming from
With Hysteria,
yeah,
Well,
the short version.
in the wake of
Well,
tragedy.
In the wake of tragedy.
Rick Allen loses his arm.
an arm,
Yeah,
and it actually held up the production of it because he had to,
there was a car
they
accident.
decided to soldier on with him.
Yep.
And he had to learn how to play drums with one arm.
And Mutt Lange was instrumental in helping him get
Pun
back
intended.
on it. Get back because he didn't think he could do it. He thought he was out of time and he couldn't record what they wanted, and they did. They made sure they took their time. They got everything the way they wanted it, and they made sure Rick still felt like he was part of the band and contributing. And it's one of those things, like you said earlier. Once you know the story a little bit, sometimes it makes the records more meaningful, and that was one of
But
those ones.
they had to they had to make it the best album they could because this goes back to the gap between albums. So Pyromania to Hysteria is 4 years, and in the 1980s, that's an eternity.
It's a
When,
death
when that genre of music is so saturated, everyone's fighting for their piece of the pie. So Def Leppard had to come out guns blazing. And
Right.
if they didn't, they'd have been dead on.
What was it? 7 #1 hits, I think, on that album. Right, like you said, they could have even made more. They had to cut it at some
Yeah,
point.
they could have probably released every song as a single off that album.
Well, I know, Mike, is I get hysteria when you're near.
Oh, gee whiz. I did actually I found one of those brand new, but I had to buy one for my son first in a little shop in San Antonio last August. But that was a reissue.
Okay.
So, but yeah, thanks for hooking me up.
Yeah. Well, thanks for helping us too.
You do have lots of CDs here, so it's not just records.
Just a reminder. Oh, and that's a great reminder too. Down here at the store, remember, we have lots of records, but we also have lots of CDs, cassette tapes, 8-tracks,
Equipment.
equipment down here. And so again, as a reminder, as we close this out, it's been about an hour now. So remember that there is a coupon in. Actually, there's 6 or 8 coupons in that Prairie Shopper that gets sent to every household, and so you can literally come back and use a different coupon every single time. But with that, I hope you will sign up to this record, listen to it in order 1 through 12. I think it becomes more of a meaningful experience, especially with this one, right, as you listen to it in order, as the emotion comes down through what Bill is singing. And kind of like I just explained here, remember, right, that with every record, right, there's a story to be told. So, thank you.
Good night, everybody.
records and cassettes, he's a music lover. Blues, rock, country, and more to explore. 10,000 vinyls and memorabilia galore. Come on down to the shop, there's something for all. Step into the world of music and more, where melodies and memories are in store. From Elvis to polka, we have it all. At Kenny's Music and More, you'll have a ball. A teacher and a DJ with a passion so deep. Kenny knows every lyric even in his sleep. His collection is unique, a treasure trove. In Bismarck, Indy, it's the place to just roll.